Hi, I'm Ed. Welcome to Common Sense.
And I'm John. How you doing, Ed?
I'm good, John. Yourself?
I'm doing great.
So
today,
what are we arguing about today?
we're not going to argue. There's no arguing with my points here. So, just kidding. Well, it's probably the hottest topic in marketing, and that's AI. And we've been through some of this before a little bit, but I think by now I keep seeing articles in the paper and on the nightly news, and so it's reaching that level of everybody knows about it at this point. And if you think it's just kind of a bunch of hype, you might want to rethink that, because it's developing so fast that AI is really becoming a viable alternative, or a viable addition to just about any kind of industry. But I thought we could focus on the sales and marketing industry because we know it better than most. And it's interesting because, you read about this thing called the singularity, which is a technical term. Scientists use it to describe the moment when someday machines are going to be truly independent, and they can think on their own, they can make their own decisions, and they're effectively as intelligent or more so than we are. And so the implications of that are unbelievably huge. And they're saying that it's not that far away. It's like 3, 4, 5 years away, believe it or not. So, if you're a fan of the Terminator series, it's going to sound like surreal. It's happening way too fast. But for most of us, the practical implications are not so much, the end of the world, but really the end of our jobs. And so it's worth thinking about, how redundant are you going to be when a machine comes along and can do what you do?
Right.
So let's talk about that. Why don't you get us started a little bit?
Well, so obviously, the low-hanging fruit, if you will, for AI is areas that involve analyzing and extracting insight from large sets of data. I think that part of what's leading to the switch that you alluded to is the fact you don't have to bring in a team of 10 engineers from IBM and pay $1 million to set up your own Watson anymore. There's a lot of SaaS products where basically you set up the API with your data, whatever application you got, and it will run and crunch and come up with some of those. So it's accessible now. A great example is the Einstein tool that Salesforce set up a couple of years ago to let people basically extract from their own CRM some data-driven insights. They sell Einstein as enabling discovery, letting you learn more about prospects and customers, prediction, anticipating the outcomes of marketing and sales and service actions. If you can anticipate the outcome of a sales action, holy cow, imagine what that's worth. Yeah. Recommendation, making suggestions about what might be the best action to take for a particular contact in a certain scenario. Automation, obviously, that's kind of a given, but beyond marketing automation that we talk about so much, automating, really anticipating, predicting, and automating steps to help achieve marketing, sales, and service goals. So really, I'd say the people that are in most immediate jeopardy are those that kind of do routine analysis, look at data, look at prospect data, look at customer data, build reports, cut and paste from spreadsheets, or from one app into spreadsheets, create simple automation workflows to enable sales or marketing or service teams. Those are things that I think we can say pretty confidently in fairly short order are going to fall prey to AI, which again will be accessible as a SaaS application for essentially any company. What do you see as some of the other endangered roles?
Well, I had some ideas, but I looked it up first and I found an article HubSpot published late last year, and they actually rank ordered some of these endangered species, so to speak. And top of the list was telemarketers at 99% chance they will go away, thank God. Retail salespeople, which is a little surprising. I guess there's so much e-commerce and Amazon's everywhere that, they're probably already feeling the heat. Some more interesting ones like proofreaders. You don't really need a proofreader anymore. You can.
I'm always going to need a proofreader. I am so bad at proofreading. I'll always need help.
Well, at least there's an app you can use to help you with that, I guess. but a full-time job, I'm not so sure. IT support, systems have become so intelligent themselves and predictive and all those sorts of things that you really don't need bodies, behind that support much anymore. Market research analysts, 61% chance that they'll go away. So that's interesting. I guess people have everything they need at their fingertips. So marketers don't really need research analysts. Advertising salespeople. So there's so much programmatic advertising out there and programs to do it, set it up, that you really don't necessarily need an intermediary. And then as you mentioned, data-driven roles are going to be, they're going to be different anyway. They're not going to be just grunt work and putting together reports. But that makes me also think that people who specialize in certain things like SEO and ad campaigns, those people might be endangered as well, because it's becoming so easy. And with AI helping you make the right decisions,
right,
it's really not necessarily a thing in demand. On the other hand, I think there are some people who are still in pretty good shape, according to the report. Sales managers, only 1.3% of them are endangered. Marketing managers, PR managers, event planners, writers, only 3.8%. So that's encouraging for creative people, as well as software developers. Somebody's got to develop the new AI unless it develops itself, which I guess it could. And then graphic designers are still probably in pretty good shape at 8.2%. So why do you think managers escape early retirement? It's kind of counterintuitive, don't you think?
Well, I think those numbers don't necessarily reflect the fact that there's that many great managers. I think that and it's not even so much the job of a manager, it's what the manager's work entails, which is a lot of, empathy and ability to understand situations and coach and advise. It's not just making a binary decision. It's really a question of how you enable people as kind of a force multiplier to be effective. And so that takes a lot of thought and a lot of creativity. The other thing is that many of these jobs that you listed as endangered, retail salespeople, as opposed to complex B2B salespeople, retail salesperson, if you go in the store and you're just picking something off the shelf, then that salesperson isn't doing anything besides just managing the transaction anyway. There's no value created there. Whereas complex B2B salespeople aren't on that list. And, I don't know exactly how they compiled it, but I have to assume this because there's so much complexity in managing 6.8 buyers, or however many it is today, and understanding the different and competing interests involved in a transaction. So, machines are great at crunching data, and they can come up with answers. With AI, they get better and better at extracting insights from data, particularly helping to see patterns that might not jump out at us, because we approach data often with a set of biases and kind of certain assumptions that we want to confirm with the data, as opposed to let's just start with a clean slate and see what the data tells us. Humans obviously excel, not always, but in many situations excel in dealing with other humans. So unless you think that all procurement is eventually going to be done by machines with, maybe relying on recommendation engines or something like that, then there's an important role there in empathy, in the ability to have conversations with people, to ask questions, and not just to follow some sort of ladder logic, but to let the answer to one question then create the next, as opposed to just give you an A or B sort of a routing. If you look at managers, their role of helping their teams, finding the right people, recruiting people, coalescing them into a team, coaching them as a team, and then helping those people help customers succeed. There's a big emotional intelligence component of that. And anywhere there's emotional intelligence, you got to figure the role is safe. So are managers going to have to improve their skill set? Are they going to have to learn how to manage machines more? Are they going to have to learn how to integrate machines side by side with people? For sure. Some functions within the roles are absolutely going to be more effectively handled by machines. But I think it's clear that in those roles, there certainly will be a human touch. But how about specifically sales and marketers? Where do you think that AI is going to particularly threaten them?
Well, I think we have to get smarter about how we think about AI, and not just about tools and not just about productivity. We really need to think about outcomes. Before you bring an AI tool into your marketing agency or your company, what's it going to do that you can't do now? What is the outcome? So that would help not just justify the purchase and installation, but give you an idea of what the goals are and how they might be achieved. And I think an extension of that, maybe the most important thing, is how do your customers benefit from AI? So really understanding what those benefits are and how you communicate them to your customers. So some, switch points or turn points might be, are we going to become more capable, or are we going to be more efficient, or both? Are we going to cost less, or are we going to provide better service?
Right.
All of the above. So you need to understand from a customer's point of view what the outcome is. And then to make the right decisions, you got to choose the right technology. You got to apply it in a sensible way that doesn't just disrupt the whole business, which is going to be difficult. Maybe we use AI to help us do that. And we need to think about who's making the decisions. And, eventually it's going to come down to us making a decision, the machine maybe making a different decision, and, how do we reconcile those things?
That's a great point.
There's some different things we need to think about. And then obviously we have to make some painful decisions about staffing. Which jobs are going to become redundant, and where might we reassign those people with new skills?
Right.
Not necessarily just laying them off. So it doesn't necessarily have to be all bad news for sales and marketing, does it?
I don't think so. I think that, kind of one of the huge underlying benefits, people tend to think of it in tactical terms about we can manipulate this much more data. But I think the huge opportunity it gives us is to overcome our biases, and we all have them. And the biases get in the way of success in many cases. Our record collection that kind of plays these recordings when we find ourselves in a certain set of circumstances and tells us, well, do this. That may have been right at one point, or it may not have been right, but it will help us overcome our biases. You talk about the ability to kind of have a machine decision, a person decision, and reconcile the two. And that's really the essence of what Ray Dalio talks about in his book, Principles. I mean, I think it's a fabulous point. Is the machine always right? No, but it's probably right more often than not. But you've got that judgment element that brings those fantastic skills of the human to bear on it, and you reconcile it, and you have a great outcome. So using data-driven algorithms, content marketers could get much better at putting the right content in front of customers that they want and doing it in a timely way. So written at the right level for users, not this formulaic crap that gets spit out by hired blog writers one after another that just annoys people, but good substantive stuff. You can do the same with advertising, with email. The goal is always to find the perfect message for every individual. Imagine personalization at a level of one-to-one. Really, not just talked about as it has been, but really executed.
Yeah.
The software is available now to write emails and chat messages that fit the buyer's persona based on data you have, and kind of intelligently interpreting the questions they're asking and providing answers that are appropriate without human intervention. They can even interpret the mood. And if somebody's getting annoyed, pissed off, I want customer service, they can discern that and very quickly hand it off to a live person so that you don't let the situation escalate. There's software that can analyze PPC spend and make suggestions automatically for campaigns. When all of this stuff, though, it's important to remember you got to have enough data. And I've seen some funny examples of some AI tools that look at a set of data that's too small and make recommendations that, it makes sense based on the way you run the algorithm, but you can't do 1.7 more ads. If you're only doing 3 ads, you can't do 1.7 more. If you were doing 300, then maybe you'd run 470. But it's, there's got to be a certain base of data volume to justify it. The other thing that happens, I would say that the cousin of AI is machine learning. And in some cases, maybe they overlap, depending, we didn't start out with definitions, but machine learning is becoming really powerful in some of its ability to help you, for instance, identify likely target accounts that you might not have thought of, or even translate language so that cross-border commerce just becomes almost without any sort of a language barrier at all. So it'll help us, I think, make fewer mistakes. It'll help overcome biases. It will help boost conversion rates, and hopefully working a little bit less hard. I mean, that sounds like a triple win.
Eye in the sky, right? Well, I agree. It's really becoming a brave new world if you think about all those benefits that accrue, and really we might very well have to redefine sales and marketing job security. So we're going to have to think creatively about career paths and recruiting and skills that are needed for this job.
Right.
But I think it's fair to say that employees that get on the bandwagon right away and embrace the technology and find really their job is now to find creative ways to leverage that technology, not to just sit back and watch it do its thing. And those people are going to be the real winners.
Right.
But on the other hand, people who just are afraid of this whole thing, like the Terminator, well, you might want to think about another career, because I think, the people who stay in sales and marketing are going to have to embrace all this technology.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that where you're going with that is that it's about substance. It's about making a difference, about delivering better results. And I contrast that with a headline I saw today about a digital marketing agency. I won't say who or where they're located, but they are now promoting the fact that they offer parental leave for people that have new pets. I mean, how is that going to help them deliver more value for a customer? It's marketing for too long has been kind of about what's cute and what sounds cool and what's hip, and it's getting more and more progressively more focused on measurable outcomes. So certainly AI is going to help with a lot with that. And over the next 2 to 5 years, these trends, as they become, as you point out, mainstream reality, it's going to give us a lot of challenge, but also a lot of opportunity. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an interesting ride. Hopefully the folks that join us for these videos are going to stay tuned. And so with that, I'll say thanks for joining us today. I'm Ed.
And I'm John, and together we're Common Sense. And by the way, there's a lot of information on this topic at our good friend Paul Rutzer's website, marketingaiinstitute.com. And don't forget to check out our new book at commonsenserevenuegrowth.com. And you can also subscribe to our podcast on riptidepress.com. See you next time.